3 shots. A 37-year-old mother of 3 dead. The agent works for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And
10:43 a.m., Minneapolis, Minnesota. 3 shots shattered the cold morning air. A 37-year-old woman sat behind the wheel of her SUV. Her name was Renee Nicole Good. She was a U.S. citizen, a mother of 3, a poet, a writer. Within seconds, she was dead. The agent who fired worked for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. He was part of the largest federal immigration operation in American history. Over 2,000 agents deployed to one city, Operation Metro Surge. If you want the full truth about what happened, hit like so this story reaches more people who need to see it. The streets of South Minneapolis had been quiet that morning. Snow covered the sidewalks. Frost clung to windshields. Neighbors were inside their homes, but federal agents were already there. Unmarked vehicles lined the blocks. ICE officers moved through residential streets. They wore tactical vests. They carried weapons. They were hunting. This wasn't random patrol. This was targeted enforcement. Renee Good's SUV rolled slowly down the street. She had Missouri license plate. She wasn't from Minneapolis. She was visiting. What happened next would ignite a firestorm. Agents approached her vehicle. Bystander video captured everything. The footage shows officers surrounding the SUV. Guns drawn. Commands shouted. Good's car began to back up slowly. Then 3 gunshots. The driver's side window exploded. Good slumped forward. Blood streaked the glass. Neighbors screamed. One woman ran toward the vehicle. "What did you do? What did you do?" An agent turned toward her. Get back now." The woman's voice cracked. "You just killed my neighbor. How can I relax?" You just killed her. This wasn't self-defense. This was execution. Comment exposed below if you believe this needs investigation. The Department of Homeland Security claimed the shooting was justified. They said Good drove toward agents. They said the officer feared for his life. They said it was self-defense. But the video tells a different story. Frame-by-frame analysis shows Good's vehicle moving backward, slowly, not accelerating, not ramming, backing away. The agent who fired stood to the side of the vehicle, not in its path, not in danger. He aimed through the driver's side window. He fired 3 times. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey rejected the federal narrative immediately. He called the shooting brazen. He said video contradicted DHS claims. He demanded answers. Governor Tim Walz held a press conference the next day. His voice shook with anger. "This is a brazen use of force. They want us to bend the knee. They want us to capitulate." He refused to accept an investigation led by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. "We will not accept an investigation where she is judge, jury, and executioner." The FBI took over the case within 24 hours. Minnesota's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the state agency that typically investigates officer-involved shootings, was sidelined. Superintendent Drew Evans said his team didn't have complete access to the evidence. Federal authorities sealed the investigation. They controlled the narrative, they controlled the evidence, they controlled the truth. Type yes if you're ready to see how this operation really began. Operation Metro Surge launched in early December 2025. ICE called it their largest enforcement action ever. The target, Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Twin Cities, home to America's largest Somali diaspora. Nearly 58% of Somalis in Minnesota were born in the United States. Of the foreign-born, 87% are naturalized citizens. But that didn't matter to the Trump administration. President Donald Trump had fixated on Minnesota for months. He called Somali immigrants garbage. He ridiculed Governor Walz relentlessly. He attacked Representative Ilhan Omar, a Somali-American Democrat from Minneapolis. Trump lost Minnesota in all 3 of his presidential campaigns. The state humiliated him. He wanted revenge. The administration found its excuse in December 2025. A viral video by 23-year-old conservative YouTuber Nick Shirley hit the internet. It showed him attempting to enter Somali-run childcare centers in Minneapolis. He claimed they were committing fraud using federal funds. The video received millions of views. Elon Musk boosted it. Vice President J.D. Vance shared it. The firestorm ignited. State investigators visited every center featured in the video. They found all operating as expected. No evidence of fraud. But the damage was done. The video connected to a real scandal, the Feeding Our Future case. Between 2020 and 2022, prosecutors say nonprofit groups fraudulently claimed $250 million from federal child nutrition program. They falsely reported providing meals to needy children during COVID-19. 47 people were initially charged. 37 pleaded guilty. Most were Somali, though the ringleader was not. It was fraud. It was wrong. It was criminal. But it involved dozens of individuals, not an entire community of over 100,000 people. Trump didn't care about nuance. He weaponized the scandal. He painted Minneapolis as a corrupt stronghold of immigrant fraud. He launched the largest immigration crackdown in American history. Share this so more communities understand what's happening. By January 5, 2026, Homeland Security had deployed approximately 2,000 federal agents to the Minneapolis metro area. ICE officers, Border Patrol agents, Homeland Security investigations teams. They flooded the streets. Commander Gregory Bovino led tactical operations. His name appeared in enforcement actions across the country. New Orleans, Chicago, Los Angeles, Charlotte, all Democratic cities, all targeted. Bovino's methods drew criticism in every city. Aggressive tactic, questionable arrests. Constitutional violations alleged but never proven. Now, he brought those methods to Minneapolis. Agents conducted door-to-door sweeps. They staked out childcare centers. They stopped vehicles. They demanded identification from citizens walking to work. One incident in early December drew national outrage. An ICE agent tackled a 20-year-old U.S. citizen of Somali descent. The agent held him in a chokehold. No warrant, no charges, just suspicion. In another incident, an agent knelt on a woman's back as she lay on a snowbank. He tried to drag her to a vehicle. The scene occurred miles from where George Floyd was murdered by Minneapolis police in 2020. The symbolism was not lost on residents. By the time Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, visited Minneapolis on January 6, the city was a powder keg. Tensions simmered. Fear gripped immigrant community. Somali families carried passports everywhere. Citizens were terrified of their own government. Noem held a press conference. She praised ICE agents. She said they were removing murderers, rapists, pedophiles, and gang members. She claimed over 1,000 arrests since December. She offered no evidence, no names, no charges, just claims. The next morning, Renee Good was shot dead. If this shocks you, hit like now. The shooting occurred at 10:43 a.m. on January 7, 2026, East 36th Street and Chicago Avenue South, less than 1 mile from George Floyd Square. Good's white SUV rolled down the residential street. Agents had been conducting operations in the area since dawn. They spotted her vehicle, Missouri plates. They moved in. Multiple unmarked cars blocked the street. Agents surrounded the SUV on foot. At least 4 officers, guns drawn. Bystander Emily Heller watched from her window. She grabbed her phone. She started recording. The video shows agents shouting commands. Good's car stops. Then it begins backing up, slowly, maybe 5 miles per hour. The agent on the driver's side raises his weapon. He's not in the car's path. He's beside it. He fires once, twice, 3 times. The window shatters. Good's body jerks. The car stops. Chaos erupts. Neighbors run into the street. One woman screams at the agents. "What did you do? She wasn't hurting anyone." An agent yells back. "This is a federal operation. Get back." The woman doesn't move. "You murdered her. You murdered her in broad daylight." Other agents form a perimeter. They keep civilians away. No one can approach the vehicle. No one can help. Good sat slumped in the driver's seat. Blood everywhere. Paramedics arrived minutes later. She was pronounced dead at the scene. Homeland Security released a statement within hours. ICE officers were conducting targeted operations when a driver attempted to flee and drove toward officers in a threatening manner. An agent discharged his weapon in self-defense. Minneapolis officials watched the video. They saw something different. Mayor Frey held a press conference that evening. The video does not support the federal narrative. This woman was backing away. The agent was not in danger. Governor Walz was blunt. This is not policing. This is not law enforcement. This is state-sanctioned violence. Federal child care funding to Minnesota remained frozen. Walz dropped his bid for a 3rd term. He cited the need to focus on the fraud scandal and the federal crackdown. Trump had won. He broke a Democratic governor. He terrorized a community. He sent a message. Bend the knee or face consequences. Comment your reaction below. Protests erupted across Minneapolis the night of January 7th. Thousands gathered at the shooting site. Candles, flowers, signs demanding justice. Say her name, Renee Good, ICE kills citizens. This is not America. Demonstrators marched to the ICE regional headquarters. Minor scuffles broke out. Police in riot gear formed line. No major violence occurred, but tension choked the air. Vigils spread nationwide. Philadelphia, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Seattle. Citizens protested not just Good's death, but the federal operation itself. The ACLU of Minnesota issued a statement. Since the launch of Operation Metro Surge, we have witnessed a remarkable string of unlawful activity targeting Minnesota communities. They documented multiple constitutional violations, warrantless arrests, excessive force, racial profiling, stops without probable cause. Jelani Hussein, executive director of the Council on American Islamic Relations Minnesota chapter, spoke to reporters. The Somali community is overwhelmingly made up of hardworking families, small business owners, healthcare workers, students, and taxpayers. When an entire community is stigmatized, the impact is immediate. Families live in fear. Representative Ilhan Omar called the shooting murder. ICE's reckless, callous actions killed an American citizen. Renee Good was a mother, a poet, a human being. She deserved to live. The White House doubled down. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt announced continued operations. DHS will continue operating in Minnesota, not only to remove criminal illegal aliens, but to conduct door-to-door investigations of rampant fraud. Vice President J.D. Vance dared Democrats to criticize enforcement. If they want to defend fraud and chaos, let them. The American people see the truth. But the American people were divided. Polls showed the country split. Half supported aggressive immigration enforcement. Half saw authoritarian overreach. No middle ground existed. The agent who killed Good remains unnamed. Federal authorities refuse to release his identity. They cite officer safety. They cite ongoing investigation. His employment status is unknown. Whether he's on duty, whether he faces charges, whether he sleeps soundly at night. All unknowns. Type justice. If you believe accountability matters. Renee Nicole Good was born in 1988. She grew up in Missouri. She loved poetry and music. She sang, she wrote, she created. She had 3 children. Friends described her as kind, gentle, one of the sweetest people they knew. Her mother spoke to reporters through tears. She was an amazing human being. She didn't deserve this. Good wasn't involved in immigration enforcement actions. She wasn't targeted. She wasn't under investigation. She was in the wrong place, the wrong time, the wrong city occupied by federal forces. A memorial grew at the shooting site. Flowers piled high. Candles burned day and night. Notes covered the snow. We will not forget. Justice for Renee. Say her name. The neighborhood remains on edge. Residents report ICE agents conducting operations daily. Unmarked cars patrol streets. Fear permeates every block. Parents walk children to school with passports in hand. Small business owners keep citizenship papers at their registers. Families avoid going outside unless necessary. Somali community leaders organized safety network. They created phone trees. They shared agent locations in real time. They warned each other, protected each other, because no one else would. Federal authorities claim Minnesota harbors widespread fraud and criminal activity. They promise continued operations indefinitely. They say arrests will continue. Deportations will continue. The occupation will continue. Political science professors describe the situation as unprecedented. Dan Myers from the University of Minnesota said Trump has pushed well past the boundaries of executive authority. Mark Usler from the University of St. Thomas School of Law agreed. Minnesota seems to trigger the president in several ways. His repeated attacks on Representative Omar, his losses in all 3 elections here. It's personal. Francesca Taylor, who lives near the shooting site, believes her city is being punished for political opposition. It's easy for the Trump administration to target a state that's politically opposed to them. Trump hates Tim Walz. He hates what Minneapolis represents. The question now, how long will this continue? Dan Hofrenning, political science professor at St. Olaf College, posed the critical question. How is this playing out for Donald Trump? There seems to be growing opposition to aggressive ICE tactics. Polling shows support for Operation Metro Surge declining. Initially, 53% of Americans supported the operation. After Good's death, support dropped to 47%. The shooting changed perception. Americans saw a U.S. citizen killed by federal agents. They saw video contradicting official claims. They saw government lying in real time. Some still support enforcement. They believe fraud justifies action. They trust federal narratives over video evidence. Others see tyranny. They see a president weaponizing federal agencies against political enemies. They see constitutional rights evaporating. The divide deepens daily. Share this video before it's buried. The Feeding Our Future scandal remains real. $250 million in fraud occurred. Criminals must face justice. Taxpayers deserve accountability, but collective punishment violates American principles. Targeting an entire community for the crimes of dozens betrays constitutional values. Calling immigrants garbage dehumanizes human beings. Weaponizing federal agencies against political opponents erodes democratic norms. The founders warned about tyranny. They created checks and balances. They separated powers. They guaranteed rights. All of it means nothing if citizens accept authoritarianism for partisan gain. Today it's Minneapolis. Tomorrow it could be any city, any community, any group the administration dislikes. When government operates without restraint, no one is safe. When agents kill citizens without consequence, justice dies. When lies replace truth, democracy crumbles. The FBI's investigation continues. State officials demand transparency. Mayor Frey promises to fight for answers. Governor Walz refuses to back down, but federal authorities control the process. They control the evidence. They control the timeline. The agent who killed Renee Good walks free. He may face charges eventually, or he may return to duty. History suggests the latter. Internal investigations rarely produce accountability. Agents are exonerated. Departments clear themselves. Families receive condolences and closed case file. Renee Good's children will grow up without their mother. Her family will grieve forever. Her community will remember her name. But will anything change? Operation Metro Surge continues. Arrests continue. Fear continues. The largest immigration operation in American history rolls forward. No sign of slowing. No sign of stopping. 2,000 agents occupy Minneapolis. They conduct daily operations, they stop vehicles, they raid homes, they arrest citizens and non-citizens alike. The line between law enforcement and occupation blurs. Constitutional protections become suggestions. Rights become privileges revoked will. This wasn't supposed to happen in America. Not here. Not in a democracy. Not to citizens going about their lives. But it did happen. It is happening. It will continue happening unless Americans demand accountability. If you believe justice is worth fighting for, hit like right now. Comment accountability below if you want answers. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next in this investigation. Share this story with everyone who needs to see what's happening in Minneapolis. The fight for truth doesn't end here. It continues every day. In every city, with every case, Renee Nicole Good's death must mean something. Her name must be remembered. Her story must be told. Because when we forget, tyranny wins. When we stay silent, injustice flourishes. When we accept lies, democracy dies. Minneapolis stands at a crossroad. Minnesota stands at a crossroads. America stands at a crossroad. The choices made now will define the nation for generations. Will citizens demand accountability or accept authoritarianism? Will courts defend rights or defer to power? Will communities resist or surrender? The answer unfolds in real time. 3 shots on a cold January morning changed everything. They exposed the reality of Operation Metro Surge. They revealed the cost of political revenge. They demonstrated what happens when federal power operates without restraint. Renee Good paid that cost with her life. Thousands more live in fear of paying the same price. This is not the end of the story. This is only the beginning. The occupation continues. The investigation continues. The resistance continues. Justice delayed is justice denied, but justice forgotten is justice destroyed. Share this video, tell the story, say her name, Renee Nicole Good. She was a mother, a poet, a citizen, a human being. She deserved to live. The fight continues. The truth matters. The resistance grows. This is only the beginning.